Yes, billionaire Paul Singer, who bought Venezuelan oil company Citgo in November, is about to be Trump's best friend. Fucking awesome, dude. Fucking awesome. Awesome world we live in, huh? Very cool. Hey guys, are you Paul Singer? Can I get a quick gut check in the chat? Is Paul Singer in the chat? Because if the answer is no, I suspect you're not going to benefit at all from these actions that we're taking in Venezuela. Okay? I'm just saying, I don't think you guys are benefiting. I don't, it's just not, it's not happening, really. You know, are you Paul Singer? Are you one of the Epstein affiliates? Be honest. If you're in the chat and you're one of the Epstein affiliates, I will let you say how sick it is that Donald Trump is doing this stuff, because he is kind of doing it for you. You know what I mean? If you are one of the super predator pedophilic financial elite, then yeah, Trump is doing this for you. So you have every right to gloat. You have every right to be like, oh, look at the might of the American military. Man, my dick's hard, and their dicks are hard too. They have the hardest dicks. Anyway, where was I? What was I going to talk about before we get into the Bowden thing? Oh, yeah, Disinformation Tracker's got another post about Asmongold. Okay. Apparently, he said Asmongold says he supports killing innocent people in other countries in order to steal their resources. Literally, he said that. I found the video on Reddit. His fans brigaded to hide the post. But why? They call him base, but then they try to hide his psychopathy, right? And one of the things is like wherever there's like a clip that, you know, makes him look bad, they do actively auto downvote that stuff pretty hard. They clamp on that shit pretty hard. But I do think it's really fun. This tweet is very funny, or at least his take here is very funny. The reason why it's very funny is not because like, oh my God, you know, I can't believe he said something so unhinged again. He does it every day, right? And many people are completely oblivious to it, which I pointed it out. I said, it's very interesting whose takes get negatively boosted and which takes get auto downvoted on Reddit. And since a lot of slop tubers are lazy Reddit plagiarizers, the entire slop market is a clear ideological slant. But what I do find very funny about this take, you know what's crazy? XQC doesn't want to react to him no more. Huh? Oh, interesting. I don't know. Maybe there's a kick mafia that actively bots any fucking kick streamer / anytime a kick streamer appears on other streamers' channels, as a matter of fact, and they don't want to fucking go after one another that aggressively.
Cuba's days are numbered. Colombia isn't going to be doing this anymore. Okay, yeah, I could see there's definitely a trend here. You specifically said you'd be against foreign intervention and nation building. Why have you switched positions? Well, I'm generally against it, but there are some instances where I'd be okay with it. It's pretty simple. Like,
you know, and what that means is if Trump is doing it, then I'm for it. Yeah. What he's described, what this is called being a flip-flopper who is inconsistent, other than being consistently up Trump's dick. Okay, so that's the problem here. I'll give you an example from my own personal background, my own personal experience. Like, for example, when the Democrats do something good that is in line with my worldview, it's not very often, but what they do sometimes get something right, I will say this is good. I'll have a restrained but reasonable, tempered response to it. I'll say, Joe Brandon, you did the damn thing. I'm proud of you. Like when he pulled out of Afghanistan, right? But when a Democrat does something that I find to be morally repugnant, abhorrent, like a genocide, for example, right? Israel doing a genocide in Palestine, I will openly call it out because I am not regime pilled in the same way that Asmongold is, right? So at this point, the only consistency that you hear from the likes of Asmongold, and not just Asmongold, but he's basically just a vessel for MAGA. You know, whenever I criticize him, I know a lot of people go, oh my God, why are you attacking Asmongold? But like, this is me doing Hogwatch, baby. This is something that I used to do all the goddamn time. And you guys used to love when I used to do Hogwatch, and this is no different. So when he has a take, it's usually just like the rest of the hogs, completely and utterly inconsistent, very hypocritical, and oftentimes super dumb. So let's take a look. So he says, oh, yeah, I said no to interventions, except some interventions I'm on board with.
There are some instances where I'd be okay with it. It's pretty simple. Like, I think it's something that's generally a bad idea, but if we can get enough money out of the place that we're intervening in, and we can effectively make it worthwhile.
Who's we, motherfucker? Who's we? You speaking French? Are you on the Epstein flight logs? No. You don't even leave your house, right? I don't think you're on the Epstein flight logs. Let's be real. But it's so funny because, like, he's like, oh, yeah, we're getting money out of this. It's like, are we? Are you? Is anybody in your fucking audience a part of this we? Or is the we an increasingly smaller number of, like, the global financial elite who may or may not be directly related to Jeffrey Epstein or may or may not have had their names all over the Epstein files? Because I don't think anybody in your chat or mine is actually a C-suite executive at any number of different corporations that will benefit from this. I don't think they're major stockholders in any of these corporations, whether it be the military-industrial complex or whether it be the oil and gas giants, or whether it be any kind of like developmentary project that might go into Venezuela and engage in asset stripping. You know, you're not a part of the team, little bro. So what is this we, right? Because remember, one thing that a lot of people also fail to comprehend is this was the reason why everyone was mad about Iraq at the end of the day, because Iraq was sold on a lie. Oh, we're going to democratize. But everybody quickly understood that it was about oil, and people got mad. So why did people get mad about the whole reality that Iraq was about oil? Why did people still get mad? Is it because they were woke moralizers who thought, well, no, that's Iraqi oil, they should keep it? No, the Americans got mad because they realized that it wasn't for them. Okay. So why do you think this is going to be any different? What leads you to believe that Trump is going to do any sort of redistributive policy that many of your followers would already consider to be socialist anyway, right? With any of the bounties that the American empire will secure from Venezuelan natural resources
For us, then I'd be okay with it. Does that make sense? So it's all about whether we're making money off of it. That's my primary function, is that,
like, whether we're making money off of it. Hey, dummy, that's how the Iraq war was sold too, you know, to the population that was listening. Like, that's how it was sold as well. When people were like, oh, okay, well, there's at least oil there, you know, at least maybe we're getting oil. We're just like looting the Iraqi coffers, right? Did you see a crumb of that? No.
I think about, is this good for Americans? And if it is, if it's making us money, it's beneficial for us, it's lowering our costs.
Bro said we are making money, so it's fine to invade anyone. Yeah, I mean, look, that's already obviously a morally repugnant position to have. But it's also doubly stupid because it's not even correct. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, across the board, I'm not going to sit here and be like, no, it's actually good if they were like invading Venezuela and like stealing all of that revenue and stealing those natural resources and then distributing it back to the American population. Because then you're basically in Nazi territory at that point, right? You're like, okay, might makes right. We get to dominate the world and we get to redistribute all of those super profits back to the average American. The unfortunate problem is that probably would be infinitely more popular than whatever the fuck Trump is doing right now. But the entire point of imperialism is not so that there is that redistributive policy to the in-group that is designed as like the people that are worthy of receiving these super profits. The entire point of imperialism is that it is a necessity under capitalism, under global capital, as profit rates decline, right? As profit rates decline, global capital looks to new markets that they can continue dominating. Looks to new markets that they can continue dominating. And they do this so that they can consistently eke out profits wherever they can. But that doesn't actually happen for you. That's not something that you'll see from, right? You're not going to see the benefits of that at all. That's never going to come into your pocket in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, you're going to get destroyed. what you will experience on the receiving end of this, if you are a working class individual in the United States of America, is NAFTA, right? America dominates other countries in its periphery, and then there is a crop of new labor that they can basically force to work for pennies on the dollar, and it's in close proximity. So obviously, they just take the labor away from U.S. soil and they move it over there. Okay, and you just sit around and you think, why don't I have a job anymore? Then you start self-medicating because you maybe fucked your back up, right? And you take some Oxycontin because, again, the Sackler family, Purdue Pharmaceutical, needs to make money off of you, right? So they just fucking put you in lifelong medical debt while simultaneously destroying your brain chemistry and cause you to develop a deep, crippling opioid addiction. This happens to many people's immediate family members in this country. And you sit around and you wonder, why is everything so shitty? Why is everything getting shittier and shittier? And you think to yourself, okay, well, at least we're dominating some Venezuelans, right? Like maybe that's a good thing. No, it's not. It's the same cycle playing itself out again and again and again. And the moment that you lean into it in your desperation through all of the banality that you're experiencing in your day-to-day misery is the moment where you become a hog. It's that simple. You lean into the hog lifestyle, telling yourself that this is somehow actually beneficial for me. This is somehow helping me. It's not. And then when someone tells you that it's actually not beneficial to you, you get mad. You're like, fuck you. You must be a dirty commie. You know? Why are you ripping the wool from in front of my eyes? Why are you telling me that this is not, like, I'm trying to engage in some self-soothing behavior and you're sitting over here telling me that this is actually not going to be beneficial for me? It's fucked up. But yeah, this 1 minute and 17-second video is a perfect encapsulation of how this works, how this cycle works. This time it'll be different because he goes from saying, one, faulty premise established. This is good for us. This is good for America. This is good. Right?
So it's
we will get money. We will make money. It's no different than Howard Butlick going on Fox News and saying the GDP increased by 4.3% in the month of December. That means every American is going to be 4.3% richer.
Money off of it. That's my primary function, is that I think about, is this good for Americans? And if it is, if it's making us money, it's beneficial for us, it's lowering our costs, or there's some other downstream effect of it, then yeah, I'd be okay with it. But us just going over there and doing it for no reason, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, that's what it was. Iraq was just going over there and doing it for no reason. In a way, this is the most like pathetic liberal assessment that you can arrive at, right? A liberal is a person who thinks every war but the current one was unjustifiable. A liberal is a person who thinks every civil rights movement except for the current one was good, right? And in some ways, he's doing this exact same thing. He's doing the same exact song and dance that I've heard from liberals over and over again when it's actually a Democrat in charge, and they're also continuing American empire, right? He's basically saying, all the previous ones were just they were just dumb. They were just for no reason, but this is for good reason. We get to make money here. Oh, really? Do explain to me how we will get to make money here, this and why this is different than the Iraq version of what took place,
I don't think so.
Anyway, Trump says the U.S. is not at war with Venezuela. Report.
Mounting questions about the future of Venezuela. President Trump insisting even after the capture of President Nicolas Maduro, the U.S. is not at war with Venezuela. In a new interview, Trump saying, we're at war with people that sell drugs. We're at war with people that empty their prisons into our country. Maduro's Vice President Delcy.
As a Shia Iraqi, I'm thankful Saddam and his family is gone. It was Al-Qaeda that ruined the country. Once again. Okay, the same forces that destabilized the country, destabilized it by invading it, okay? And it's the same forces that are ruining the country. So you're basically saying, like, I'm thankful Saddam and his family is gone, but also, you know, the people that did that obviously fucking ruined the country.
Rodriguez was sworn in as interim leader yesterday. Trump says Rodriguez is cooperating with U.S. officials, but there could.
You said this exact same thing 7 years ago, time-stamped.
We talk a great deal about Venezuela and what kind of intervention is an absolute necessity in Venezuela because Maduro is a violent dictator and, like, we need to take those oil, we need to take their oil away from them and privatize that shit, okay? But meanwhile, while that's happening, we are aiding a theocratic monarchy in committing atrocities in Yemen. One of the largest man-made famines on the planet right now in Yemen. And that blockade is aided and abetted at every single step of the way by the U.S. military-industrial complex. And if you ask Donald Trump what the fuck is going on, and he has vetoed this, by the way. I mean, Bernie Sanders led a bill in Congress to stop aiding Saudi Arabia, and I think it was also about implementing some sanctions on Saudi Arabia until they scaled back their warfare on Yemen. And Trump said no.
This is also part of the reason why it's so funny when people say, Hasan, you changed. The only thing that changed is my voice, okay, and maybe my hair, and also the gray beard hairs. Not my commentary, my worldview, my positions have not changed. Maybe you didn't actually pay attention. Maybe you didn't actually fucking pay attention back then, right? And you started paying attention in a negative fashion now. But you have to stop listening to these dumb fucks who had no opinions on this shit 7 years ago, who barely have a consistent position on it now. And you have to stop getting your information from these people, okay? They are consistently lying to you. I don't know how else to describe it, okay? And one of the biggest lies is, of course, the notion that I'm actually inconsistent. You can go back to any point in time and revisit some of the commentary that I did on this stuff, and you will realize I was saying it ahead of time many, many years ago.
We are responsible for it. When you ask Trump why he's doing this, he says, hey, well, they're paying us $10 billion in weapons. They're going to go and buy it from someone else, folks.
Your old clip, Brandon and Maduro. Oil. So, we're coming back to Venezuela. We need Venezuelan oil. So, we're coming back to Venezuela, and we're saying, hey, listen, baby, let me tell you something. Listen, Maduro, I want to talk to you real good. You understand? I know I've said some things that you might have misunderstood, misconstrued. I've been shutting you out, but I should have been I've been shutting my own heart out, Maduro. Look alive, Jack. Baby, I need you. I need you so bad, baby. Maduro, I need you so fucking bad. Oh, I love you, Maduro. I love communism, Jack. I love it. This is when Brandon moved to get more Venezuelan oil to make up for to make up for the global supply, the lack of global supply. But yeah, I've been consistent. Motherfuckers have not, and my principles on this have not changed either. Okay.
Complications. Venezuela's powerful interior minister, the so-called security kingpin, Diosdado Cabello, who was also indicted with Maduro, is now vowing revenge for the U.S. raid. The Miami Herald reports Cabello, who remains in Venezuela, is sending messages to military officers and calling on his supporters to take to the streets. Analysts warn he could threaten Rodriguez's control.
I mean, Diosdado Cabello, being there, the head of their security forces, senior military guy, crucial to drug trafficking through Venezuela. Why would you leave him there?
President Trump last night threatened more U.S. military attacks if Venezuela's interim government stops cooperating. Meanwhile, Maduro and his wife made their first appearance in a New York courtroom transported via helicopter from jail, both pleading not guilty to narco-terrorism charges. Maduro's attorney calling the U.S. raid a military abduction and claiming because Maduro is head of a sovereign state, he is immune from prosecution, even though more than 50 countries refused to recognize Maduro as the legitimate president. Leaving court, Maduro responded to a heckler saying, "I am the elected president. I am a prisoner of war. I will be free."
His lawyer says the case is going to be complicated. For now, he's going nowhere. Maduro did not even ask for bail and returned to jail. We may not see him again until March, when he's next due here in court.
On Capitol Hill last night, top lawmakers were briefed on the raid. House Speaker Mike Johnson calling it justified and denying the goal was regime change.
We are not at war. We do not have U.S. armed forces in Venezuela, and we are not occupying that country.
But Democrats warning of echoes of Iraq, concerned about the lack of planning.
Did you get a sense in the briefing that the administration has a plan for the next steps in Venezuela?
No, I have real concerns about that.
A day after Trump.
I think it's pretty funny that Donald Trump literally told the oil barons that he was going to do this in Venezuela before he told anybody else. And when they say the administration seemingly doesn't have a plan here, that's not just politics. That's not just partisan posturing. There is some truth to that, because right now, what the admin is trying to do, and here I'll give Trump a little bit of credit on this, okay? He is living in the post-Iraq war quagmire world, right? He recognizes that like a 20-year occupation of Venezuela is not going to be good for anybody, right? It's not going to be good for the legacy of Trump. It's not going to be good. It's going to, frustrate people, especially if that military intervention happens under his watch. He knows that, which is part of the reason why he just immediately dropped the Machado thing, right? He was like, fucking Machado, unpopular. Nobody gives a shit about you. Sorry. We're not going to work with you. And that's why he's trying to work with the existing Maduro government that is under this threat that if they don't play ball, what will happen to them is exactly what happened to Maduro. We can come in and out of your country as we see fit, and we can extract your leaders if we want to. We can just create like a fake narrative, or we can just assassinate you if we want to, right? So that's the dynamic at play here. The dynamic at play here is Trump recognizes that he cannot militarily occupy Venezuela, but he wants to control the Venezuelan government.
State Department posted this image with the words, "This is our hemisphere."
It's just like funny. I'm sorry, dude. It's thought terminating cliche, Hassan. You can oppose what the U.S. is doing in Venezuela and their plans for it while correctly pointing out that Chavez Maduro played a role in. No, I will not say Chavez played a role in Venezuela's collapse, okay? And I won't even say that Maduro played a role in Venezuela's collapse, because Maduro's role in Venezuela's collapse is marginal in comparison to America's role in Venezuela's collapse. And it's fucking ridiculous. Okay? You are complaining about the dude who walked into a house fire with like a match that was lit up, okay? The house was lit on fire before the dude walked in with matches. It's fucking insane.
Warning this could give China the green light to assert influence over its own hemisphere, including over Taiwan. And as for what's next in Venezuela, which has the world's largest oil reserves, President Trump says the U.S. may reimburse companies that invest in rebuilding Venezuela's infrastructure.
And Mary, without a clear plan, with all this going on, the administration continues to talk about wanting to take over Greenland.
Yeah, Michael, the president is still setting his sights on Greenland. One of his top advisors, Stephen Miller, yesterday in an interview said the U.S. has a right to take the semi-autonomous Danish territory. And
shocked, I tell you.
Miller not ruling out the use of military force to do so. The prime minister there is urging Trump to stop the threats and warning this would be effectively the end of NATO. But the Trump administration is outlining a vision for a new world order where the U.S. can overthrow governments as long as it's in the U.S. national interest.
Can you rule out that the U.S. is ever going to try to take Greenland by force?
Well, let me go back a step.
Yeah, I heard Netanyahu. There's Netanyahu's case is judge killed in suspicious incident. I don't know how valid this story is. I saw, like Fightuks and stuff talking about it. God, I fucking love democracy. The only democracy in the world, not just the Middle East, but the only democracy in the world, Israel. Oh my God. Wait, Modest and humble. Beersheba District Court President Benny Sagi dies in Highway 6 car crash. What the fuck? Wait, was he riding on a motorcycle? Police investigating the incident and leaders across Israel mourning his death.
The president has been clear for months now. So I know you're treating this as breaking news. The president has been clear for months now that the United States should be the nation that has Greenland as part of our overall security apparatus. The United States,
but your wife posted that like hours after the Venezuela operation.
No, but
that's why it's newly.
Wait, what? Schumer, I asked for assurances that they were not planning operations in other countries like Colombia and Cuba, and I was very disappointed in their answer. Oh my fucking God. Oh no.
I asked for some assurances that they were not planning operations in other countries, and I named a few of the ones you mentioned, including Colombia and Cuba, and I was very, very disappointed in their answer.
What level of cuck is this? I don't even know, brother. I don't think there's words in the English language. I mean, dude, he's not even, I mean, dude, I don't know what to tell you. Like, maybe it's because he's so fucking weak that the administration sees no reason not to tell him the truth. Like, they're just like, yeah, of course we're going to do that. What the fuck are you going to do about it? I asked for a pinky promise and they wouldn't even give me that. Yeah. Maybe he means he's disappointed because the Trump administration said they're not going to invade Cuba and invade Colombia, and he wants them to do it. I don't know. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's why he's disappointed. Or maybe he's disappointed because he doesn't get to have a say in it. I don't know. They would not invite me to the They would not invite me to the military planning seminar. I'm just going to give you guys a trigger warning. You're about to see something crazy, okay? This is probably the least feminist I have ever been. I am going to show you a woman groveling, okay? And I don't want to show this to you, and I know it's fucked up, but like, if you have any sort of sensitivities about this sort of thing, I'm just going to let you know you are about to see women's wrongs, okay? You are about to see women's wrongs. I just specifically, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, as a matter of fact. It will be offensive. This is Maria Machado talking to Sean Hannity, but she's not really talking to Sean Hannity. She's serving an audience of one, as people like to say. Not me, other people like saying that, even though I'm saying that right now. She's talking to Donald Trump directly.
Now, following the capture of Maduro over the weekend and the end of his horrific regime, the question remains, who will...
The horrific regime. Yeah, I'm glad that Bernie, Jake Tapper, Sean Hannity, Kamala Harris, everyone's on the same wavelength, by the way. But of course, there is no uniparty consensus on foreign policy. Oh no, I'm crazy. That's just leftist gobbledygook. Okay, that's just totally made up. How dare you say such a thing?
Succeed the brutal dictator and bring much needed change and freedom to the country. One name making headlines is Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado. Remember, she rose to prominence after winning the independently run opposition presidential primary with more than 92% of the vote before Maduro then dictated that she be taken off the ballot. Now, that was only back in 2023. In the hours following the successful raid and the arrest of Maduro, Machado posted on X saying, quote, Venezuelans, the hour of freedom has arrived. Now, remember, upon winning the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize, Maria dedicated that prize and award to President Trump. She said on X, quote, in part, I dedicate this prize to the suffering people of Venezuela and to President Trump for his decisive support of our cause. But that is far from the only praise she has given President Trump. Now, following his decisive victory against Kamala Harris, she congratulated the president, promised that the rightful democratic government of Venezuela would be a reliable ally to the U.S. Now, she was also quick to thank President Trump for his, quote, firmness and determination in upholding the law after Maduro was ousted. In fact, since he won in November of 2024, Maria Corina Machado has thanked President Trump and his support and commended his resolve to help the people of Venezuela many, many times, publicly and on X and elsewhere. She joins us now for an exclusive interview. Maria, it's good to see you again. How are you?
I'm fine, and I want to thank you, Sean, you personally and Fox News for the incredible support you have given throughout all this long journey for the cause of democracy of our people in Venezuela.
Let's go back to 2023. You won 92% of the vote to be the opposition leader.
I'm Venezuelan, and I don't like Trump, but he's right. I used to work in the oil industry back home, and you wouldn't believe how much money the government owes to the U.S. companies, and doesn't make any sense that we have more oil than Saudi Arabia, and our minimum wage is $3 per month, and the country looks like shit. I mean, it kind of does make sense when you think about what America has done. That's kind of the point. Like, when you look at Saudi Arabia, which was servile to American interests in foreign policy, well, until they weren't, actually. There was a point where Saudi Arabia used to flex nuts with the power that they had, but they packed that shit up real quick. And now they no longer do that. Right? I mean, this chatter is not wrong. This chatter is not wrong at all. He's right. I mean, it's true. Venezuela is fucking dirt poor. Venezuela is dirt poor. In spite of having these massive fucking, this massive reserve of heavy crude in the country. One must ask the question, why? Why is it that other single resource economies are incredibly wealthy when Venezuela is not? And it's because America punishes you endlessly when you don't play ball. Sometimes they punish you one time, and then you never repeat the mistake in your family ever again, like Saudi Arabia. If you don't kiss the ring and you want to have sovereignty, America will punish you.
Maduro prevented you from being on the ballot. How was he able to do that?
Well, because they absolutely control the judiciary system and also the electoral council. So it was a miracle. Everybody told us it was impossible to carry independent elections in a primary process. And we were able to bring the country together to carry these elections organized by civil society with millions of people participating. And the fact is that cowardly, he feared us, he feared me, Maduro, so he thought that by banning me, he would stop us from winning. But
bro, you are literally a CIA agent, and you participated in a coup already. Why would anybody let you run for like, what country wouldn't just throw you in jail permanently? This is what I don't understand. Like, this is what I mean when I say these guys are kind of fucking weak. Okay, no disrespect, but like on what planet do you actually facilitate a fucking coup? The coup fails and you don't go to jail permanently. Like, what are we doing? I mean, I guess America is the only fucking stupid ass country. I'm saying this on January 6th. Oh my God, I'm saying it on January 6th. It is precisely the point, chat. Okay, I'm saying this on January 6th. It makes it even funnier. Yes. There's only one other fucking dumbass country where you can have a fucking president that gets annoyed with the democratic results and does an insurrection and then doesn't go to fucking jail. Happy Liberation Day, everybody. Happy Ashley Babbitt Remembrance Day. We know from our own personal experience what happens when you don't actually literally punish the leadership that facilitated a failed coup, a failed insurrection.
Let's bring in our military analyst, Sean Bell. Sean, so what action do you think, what impact do you think Trump's actions in Venezuela will have on this meeting in Paris today? They're surely going to be discussing it, aren't they?
Well, it's inevitable, isn't it? But there's so much going on in the world. But, you know, this coalition, the willing, it is worth pointing out their main focus is Ukraine. Because whatever's happened in the rest of the world, you know, Ukraine is heavily reliant on the coalition, the willing. At the moment, on the front line, Russia is on the front foot. America's looking increasingly distracted, and Putin will definitely be feeling emboldened at the moment. And whilst they say soldiers win battles, it's nations that win wars. And at the moment, they're consuming huge amounts of bullets, missiles, and the like. Russia's economy...
Amy Goodman's peace sign. Thank you for the 25. Get this
is on a war footing. They're developing a huge amount of missiles. Europe hasn't done that, and therefore is heavily reliant on the American arms industry to provide that support. That reliance is looking increasingly difficult.
What do you think are the driving forces behind Trump's recent military actions and ultimatums?
Yeah, it's fascinating. If I get inside President Trump's mind, it'd be fantastic. But when he first came to power, we thought President Trump, on this occasion, his America First policy was going to be more isolationist. But actually, it looks like the national security strategy, which was just published, it looks very, very different. This Monroe policy...
I read this. The national security strategy was released in November 2025. And I read it, okay, where they basically spell out the Donroe Doctrine. And for people who read through the 25-page national security strategy memorandum and looked at it and thought, oh, this means that they're like actually scaling back on their, global conquest or whatever. I don't think so. I think they do actually maintain that they will have a global posture. They'll just redouble their efforts. They'll just redouble their efforts in Latin America.
Policy people are talking about hails back to 1823. Why is that important? Because at the time, European powers were doing expansionism empires, and America said, look,
they also do say that they're just going to do more hard power instead of soft power.
We'll worry about Americas, not just America, and therefore that's what it looks like President Trump is leveraging. If we now look at the national security strategy for America, they're looking at the Western sphere of influence. And although we've got a little box there booming, it's not confined to the shores of America. America's also identified that China is probably going to be the Eastern power sphere of influence as well. And again, don't please get tied up with exactly where the lines are for this influence. It's more the areas it's going to be responsible for. Now, where does that leave the middle ground, Middle Earth, as it were, where you've got Russia fighting Ukraine, and where do the Europeans now find of influence? And of course, all of that explains why Europe's going to be very, very worried about its fight with Russia, because it's more than simply fighting with America. And if we go to a different map as well, some of this strategy explains why the United States is actually been interested in Cuba. Why is it interested in Venezuela? Why is it interested in Greenland? Because all of these are parts of its area of influence. The downside, of course, is Greenland is a member of NATO. Well, Denmark is a member of NATO and thereby proxy. And therefore, where before we had 195 nations in the world, we respected, big or small, their sovereignty. Now it feels like power is might, and all of a sudden it feels like the survival of the fittest. And that is a very worrying trend indeed for European leaders.
Worrying trend also for NATO. Where does it leave NATO and its existence?
Yeah, so NATO is a major worry. It's been the bedrock of security for all of us for 80 years. But if you look back, there's lots of institutions like NATO, International Court of Justice, ICC, and also the United Nations Security Council. You were just talking to your previous guest. Some of those are looking increasingly fragile. Bluntly, if you were inventing a structure today to deal with the world, it wouldn't look like NATO. And I think what's happening now is it's gradually dissolving. Where does that leave UK? Where does that leave European nations? Europe particularly is not the United States of Europe. Fragmented, it's very vulnerable. What does it look like together? And I think part of that is going to influence the United Kingdom's security strategy as well. So going full circle, if you look at the Coalition of the Willing meeting today in Paris, I don't think it's any surprise that I think it's 27 leaders have all turned up in person, apart from America.
I legitimately think if the European Union disbanded NATO and then recreated a European security a European security commitment, I mean, they would have a very hard time, obviously, re-upping their arsenal and things like that. It would most likely never happen. Turkey cut out. Oh, Turkey would get cut out in a heartbeat. America would also never allow that to happen anyway. It's so funny that Trump is like, they say Trump is anti-NATO. It's like, He is not. He is not anti-NATO, chatters. Please stop saying he's anti-NATO. At least they still have a nuclear arsenal and therefore get the automatic nuclear deterrence. And this would allow them to do whatever the fuck they want, really. His actions are anti-NATO. Why? No, it's not. No, it's not. Why do people do this? Why do people say this? I mean, I know why people say it because the media said it, especially last time. Okay. Is it because of Ukraine? Is that why? Is that the reason? Is that why you guys are saying Trump is anti-NATO? Is this what it is? So many people, or maybe is it the Greenland stuff? Yeah, guess what, dude? It doesn't fucking matter. They will allow it to happen if Trump wishes it. European leaders have said if Trump touches Greenland, it's the end of NATO. Good. I'm glad that fucking they're using a little bit of force, but we shall see. I think they're not going to do that, though. I mean, have you talked to a European liberal? They think Russia is the most evil country that has ever existed throughout. They think Russia is worse than fucking Hitler's Germany. Okay? They genuinely think that if NATO didn't exist, Russia would just storm the beaches of Normandy. They're all talking, look at the Russian gas situation. They still say it, though. I think to be fair, a founding principle of NATO is that Russia is worse than Nazis. I mean, they literally did build NATO with Nazis against the USSR. So of course they think that. There are literal Nazis in fucking NATO. Or were literal Nazis in fucking NATO. So EU libs are also Russophobic. Every Russian speaking person is an org zombie for them. How do they distinguish between Ukrainians and Russians then? You know?
And therefore, and it's part of it, it's reflecting, is this simply continue to provide aid for Ukraine, or is it the new front line in a battle for survival? And I do think that's going to be incredibly important. There's a huge weight of responsibility now growing on Keir Starmer. We're just a tiny island nation. Where does that leave us?
They speak Ukrainian? You think someone who doesn't speak Russian or Ukrainian understands the difference between Russian and Ukrainian? What the fuck are you talking about? That's crazy, chatter.
In the future.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has ended his
Oh, yeah. Tim Walz drops his re-election bid amid scrutiny over state's fraud scandal. Let's take a look at
election
this.
campaign. The former Democratic VP candidate has been slammed by Republicans over his handling of widespread fraud in Minnesota. Federal prosecutors say billions of taxpayer money was stolen by operators of daycares and health companies.
Yeah, Chinese think America's a Russian Lamont. Exactly. When we went to fucking China, they thought we were Russian, okay? Like, I don't think Europeans have any understanding of who's Russian and who's Ukrainian, you know? That's crazy. I fucking don't.
Ed O'Keefe has more on Walz's announcement. Ed, good morning.
Nate, good to see you. You know, if things had gone differently for Walz right now, he'd be vice president. But he's a governor who wanted a third term and says he's dropping that bid to address problems in Minnesota, including the fraud scandal, without distraction. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz rose to national prominence in 2024 as Kamala Harris's running mate.
Now I'm hitting the road.
And backed by a surge of out-of-state support plus home state popularity, he'd already started running for a third term. But on Monday, he dropped those plans.
Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences.
For months, Walz has defended his administration's work to protect taxpayers.
Just generational fall on and then fall off. I had such big hopes for Tim Walz. I had such big fucking hopes, dude. Because his congressional track record wasn't bad. And listen, I'm not the number one cynic here. Michael from Pennsylvania, not Beijing, okay, is a far greater cynic than I am. And he also had big dreams for Tim Walz as well initially. Like, as far as his congressional track record, he was solid. Like, he did stuff that the rest of the Democratic Party often didn't touch. He talked about a non-interventionist policy in Syria, things like that. That's not, you know. He was really good on social safety nets. The Democratic Farmer Labor Party was incredible with the slim majority that they had. Anyway, what happened to Tim Walz first was obviously he got the lib poison touch, being associated with Kamala Harris's campaign, where they backpocketed him, where they were like, would you do a nuclear first strike on Iran? And he was like, oh, yes. To defend Israel? Yes. What a fucking stupid thing to say. What a ridiculous thing to say. God damn. And then after that, after the campaign, he went back to his duties as governor. And even then, he rat-fucked Omar Fateh and backed Jacob Frey, who is actually somewhat connected to Amy Bach, the lady who is the linchpin of this Somali fraud story, for the record. That was also ridiculous.
Dollars, as federal prosecutors have charged at least 98 people with defrauding billions from state programs that fund everything from housing assistance to public health. Most of those charged are of Somali descent.
Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state.
Minnesota is home to the nation's largest concentration of Somalis, most of them American citizens. President Trump has repeatedly attacked them and the governor.
Walz is a grossly incompetent man. There's something wrong with him.
Trump also deployed federal immigration agents to the state, where more than 670 people were arrested during raids last month. And multiple law enforcement officials tell CBS News the Trump administration's now planning to send roughly 2,000 immigration agents and officers to the Twin Cities.
Donald Trump and his allies in Washington and in St. Paul and online want to make our state a colder, meaner place.
Now, with Walz bowing out, Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar, a once and potentially future presidential candidate, among those considering a gubernatorial campaign. A crowded Republican field includes Mike Lindell, founder of MyPillow, who's a staunch supporter of President Trump.
Yeah, here, donor pressure came in. They got scared of the fucking Somali fraud story, and they iced him. And they said they're going to back Klobuchar. There it is. That's the story. And he had to bow out in disgrace like this. Devastating. Absolutely devastating. Anyway, I'm tired. Another half day Hasi, 7 hours in the books. I'll be back tomorrow as always. I got some fun special stuff lined up this week as well. Possibly with Mustafa the Poet and Daniel Caesar. Please check log. Bro, look at this. Look at this. I'm ending the stream and there's still motherfuckers being like, please check logs. Please check logs. I love you. Liberals are so insufferable. Fucking libs, man. Love you guys. I'll do more fun stuff tomorrow. I promise. Peace.